Now
There
we're
you
live.
go. Now we're,
I
I
feel like
know.
we get better and better as we get worse.
I
Like
know.
we're doing good. We have a really great show today. So this is what episode 10,
So
right?
episode 10, yeah, it's round 10.
Round
Ding, ding.
10.
The whole bell thing was bad. I'm glad that we're not doing the bell anymore. That
I
makes me
kind of
happy.
love it. I kind of love it because we are always fighting and we will go 10 rounds for cannabis if necessary. So
Nice.
today's a big day. It's a huge day for Florida. A lot of news hasn't happened this week. There's not been a lot going on, just a little here, a little there. It was going to be a super sobering, boring show until OG Jodi James came in with the save for our content. So what I want to tell you guys, and I'm gonna lead up to this because I'm gonna let her take over from there. But what most people don't understand is that Florida Cannabis Action Network, unlike other groups, has played a powerful role in advancing cannabis reform, staying steadfastly vigilant, right? Deeply engaged and unwavering in its fight to protect patients' rights. Okay. But this isn't always seen. It isn't always published. It isn't always in a press release. It's behind the scenes. It's given a crap about you guys when you're not paying attention. And it is their finger on the pulse. It's truly significant to the entire program that we have a group like this. Florida Cannabis Action Network has made some amazing strides towards patient protections. One of those being the right to bear arms. So,
Isn't that
what
simple?
happened this week, OG Jodi James? Did something happen with guns and weed? Because I am all ears. I love both topics.
Guns and weed. It's kind of sexy. We get to be sexy this week with guns and weed. I
Yeah, I want
know.
pew pew to go across the screen.
I'll see what I can do about making that happen.
Okay.
Uh, it has actually been a fantastic week if you are part of Florida Cannabis Action Network, and even if you're not. We did get to celebrate a little bit of a victory today in
Huge
2000.
victory.
Huge. Well, we're increment. It's an incremental victory, right? So it is a step in the right direction. We actually have we received an order on Wednesday from the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in a case that we had initiated in 21 with then Agricultural Commissioner Nikki Free. She reached out to some of the advocacy community and she said that there was conflict, of course, about whether or not you can have a gun and medical marijuana. And until Tuesday, the answer was unequivocally no. And people said, well, if you don't go buy a gun, if you buy it from a third, there is federal law that says that you are not allowed to be in possession of cannabis and a gun. So that was easy. We knew that. Uh, Commissioner Freed continued to distribute medical marijuana or I'm sorry, concealed carry cards during her term in office, despite the fact that she just didn't look. She didn't run those two databases simultaneously. And
Mhm.
so there was no question on the form that says, do you use marijuana? So she didn't add it. And she did talk a lot in her campaign about guns. God love her. 8 years later, and we still remember that it was weed, guns, and water. So,
Yeah.
it was effective. She got elected on it. She had tried for about 3 years during her campaign time in office to find some people to work with her on it. She finally reached out to Florida Cannabis Action Network, and it was something that our membership had taken an interest in. Past President Maria Hurley, I reached out to her and said, we've been asked, do we want to participate in this? And she said, absolutely. Of course, this is huge for everybody.
Right.
So, and several of our members, actually, one of our members, Sam Valdez, went to the Supreme Court in Florida over his right to work and have medical marijuana. He had
I
been,
know him very well.
he's a great
He came
guy.
on he came on the
He's
podcast to tell his story and then I hired him afterwards so that he could have work.
So he had
Yeah.
work. So he lost his job as a correctional officer. The case went to the Supreme Court, and they said, well, you could probably get your job back, except you can't have a gun. And
Yeah.
as a prison guard, sometimes you're going to be, authorized to have a gun. So they ruled against him in that case. So guns are really flipping important to our people. We were able to reach out. We worked, talked to some of our members, and we found three people who were willing to put their name on a lawsuit against the federal government. Then Attorney Garrett or Garland, which was interesting. Two of our board members at the time, Kathy Jordan, who passed away last year, had actually argued a case in front of Garland when he was a judge. And Mike Crowitz, who serves on our advisory board, had been a plaintiff in a case in front of Garland. So we had a pretty good idea of who he was as the Attorney General. Interesting that Pam Bondi, of course, is the Attorney General today. Florida Cans had some fun with her when she
Had
was in
some
Florida.
fun.
We did
Yes.
have some fun. We actually sued her.
Yeah.
But you asked how many we'd won earlier, and I didn't include that one because we don't win them all. But we had some fabulous plaintiffs. We have fabulous plaintiffs. Vera Cooper is a grandma in the Panhandle.
Hmm.
She's been running her family business since 67. She from time to time wants to take um, uh,
Deposits.
deposits to the bank. Thank you very much. Wants to take deposits to the bank. And so she wanted a gun for her ability to put something in her purse. So she was feeling comfortable with this money. Nicole Poole, who is the other named plaintiff in the case. Now, of course, when Commissioner Freed was no longer commissioner, her name came off of the case. Wilton Simpson, the current commissioner, does not care about your right to medical marijuana and your right to a gun. So he withdrew from the case. But
Yeah.
we had made sure with the attorneys that we were going to be able to move forward without the commissioner, and we did.
Hmm.
Nicole Poole is a mom. She's got small kids living at home. She's one of our wounded warriors.
Yep.
Was a commanding officer in the reserve, deployed, and was involved in a roadside bombing. So has some injuries, some PTSD. Wanted to have a gun so that she could use it when she was traveling with her children. She was funny when we first started talking about it. She's like, "Well, I would never shoot a gun in my apartment. That's because it could go through the wall and hurt somebody else. But
Right.
when she's traveling, she wants to be able to be armed. And of course, it was the government who um, taught her how to use a gun and gave her a gun and said not only could she have a gun, but she could command people with guns.
Yeah.
So, made her put her in the command structure. And then Neil Franklin, who is a dear friend of mine, former executive director of law enforcement against prohibition, is a Floridian now. He was a decorated Baltimore police officer, ranking officer. And as a retired police officer, they have federal concealed carry permits.
Oh, yeah.
He is allowed to travel anywhere in the United States with his his service weapon, right? Whatever he's got, his legal weapon.
Sidearm. Yep.
Yeah, so he got a card and then turned it back in when he realized that he wasn't going to be able to have both. So we've literally been working our way through the appeals court. I wrote in something, I said, well, it took 5 years, a brilliant team of lawyers, and a change in the Supreme Court
Yeah.
for us to get here. But we have a few more weeks until we're sure that the state will, or that the federal government, this is Pam Bondi's Justice Department, won't appeal.
Right.
The,
That's the stuff that I think our listeners are going to want to know. The questions on everybody's mind. Will we do a deeper dive on this separately, you think, where we
I
can tell
guarantee
people
it. Yeah,
all
a
of the
lot.
next steps? Okay.
And that's not going to come from me. That's going to come from one of the attorneys.
That's
There are
fine.
things
I'll
people
have
need.
fun with the attorney. And
Yes, Sally,
because
don't go get your gun. We're not
everybody
there
is
yet.
going to read the headlines. They're going to take from the headlines what the headlines are putting out there, which is guns and weed for everybody in Florida. Yay, Florida. This is like a second, birthday for Florida. We get guns and weed. So, you know how much Floridians love our guns and
Yes, we
our
do.
weed. And
That's
so,
the thing.
why
Most
wouldn't
Floridians
we be
don't.
celebrating in the streets and shooting guns off into the air like a quinceanera? So, yeah, everyone just needs to relax. Don't do anything yet and wait for next steps, but make sure that you pay attention to FL because if anyone's going to know, the people that did it.
Yeah, it's gonna be us. Yeah, so it has been very exciting. We have a couple more weeks. At this point, once this case is complete, and our lawyers assure us that the way that the justices laid out the argument, there's not a whole lot of room for appeal. So that's pretty exciting. They would have to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. There's not really anything for the trial court. One of the articles says it's been remanded back to the trial stage. There's not anything for the trial stage to look
Right.
at. Vera is a law-abiding citizen using marijuana under the color of law. Federal Rohrabacher Farr Amendment going back nearly 20 years, says that the federal government won't interfere with a state program. And the justices mentioned that um, so we're feeling pretty good about it. Did I freeze up or did you?
You did. I was just trying to pretend frozen
Excellent. Oh, well, excellent.
out of
You
sympathy.
click pin. That's
I
unusual.
know. I'll do that next time. I was just like, I'll pretend I'm frozen. So, one quick question. So recently, President Trump's administration attorneys were urging the Supreme Court to make it official that cannabis users and drug users should not be owners of firearms. Now, this has nothing to do with that. What the federal government and what the DOJ is working on is people that um, are trying to restore their rights to own a firearm after committing a crime, right?
Or
This
have
on
committed
that.
or have committed crimes, recreational users who have committed crimes that don't want to be disarmed. And so
Okay.
since Bruin,
Versus normal citizens that like the three that you have
who
that
are
actively
absolutely
put their
working
names
under
on
the
this.
color of law. Yeah, they are
Okay.
absolutely working under the color of law, as is anyone in the state of Florida who has gone to the trouble of finding a physician, being qualified, working under the state medical marijuana program. And once this decision is final, we'll have an equal protection case. So if they don't move forward, if the justices don't move forward, we're going to have some equal protection stuff going on. So we've got some folks out there watching live. Thank you very much for watching live. I have some exciting news though that I
Oh,
didn't tell you. We have yeah, right. We have a new member, Steve, who is going to be taking our program and getting it on YouTube. So most of the episodes for people who are watching, if you want to see it later, if you want to share it with someone who's not a friend on Facebook, we are making that a news available on YouTube and it will be up sooner. And so we're really excited. And thanks to Steve, people
thanks,
will be
Steve.
able to get this information and more folks will see it. If you're on now, be sure to share on your page so other people know that we're doing this. And if you're watching later, like it
And share it.
and share it with your friends.
Just hit all the
Well,
buttons until it freezes up. Like I and comments and like give us stars, whatever you can do, because that's what helps us get more reach. So
that's right. Well, we have a pretty robust Facebook channel. We're pretty excited to see the content growing and have some extra help and new members coming on every day. We had 3 new members this week. Yay, Florida Cannabis
ooh,
Action Network. I know it's a good
yay
week.
us. Yeah,
We worked
it's a
with,
really good week.
it
Let's be
really was.
honest. At
We are
least we're not
working,
Texas.
hey, we're working on a home grow bill and they're working on throwing out weed entirely, it sounded like. Tell us
No,
about
they're okay.
home grow.
Besides Texas and Massachusetts, which are struggling. We're talking like one wants like poor Texas. We need to come up with a what the Florida for Texas, like something I can say that's just like classic. Everything's got to be bigger and more, in Texas. But so the governor of Texas, bless his heart, right?
That is
Uh,
hard.
really was adamant about, vetoing SB3, which would have prohibited the sales of pretty much all hemp extract products. So when it got to his desk to sign after passing the House and the Senate during legislative session, he was like, no, I'm vetoing this. I want you to
Right.
go back to the drawing board and I want you to come up with something that is, protecting obviously the kids, all the kids, but like, you know, reasonable amount of protections and enforcement and language. So come up with something instead of complete prohibition, right?
Okay.
Um, so they go to special session. And
Right.
of course,
It'd
we've
be the
got,
special session where the Democrats went to Chicago.
well, Democrats are mad, right? So Democrats are not present for voting right now, which probably is going to be coming up later after if this stuff gets through, because it looks like it's got some traction. SB 6,
Okay,
which
this
is
is
same
Texas.
exact language of SB 3 that was vetoed from the governor's office, is pretty much the complete prohibition of everything except for CBD and CBG. Yeah, that's it. CBD, CBG. That's it. Anything else in the product besides that is prohibited. There's
So
also really
no full spectrum
no,
products.
no.
Okay.
Is it CBD specific?
It would have to be an isolate.
There you go. And that's what it looks like. They want you to isolate CBG and CBD and then make products with that, because we don't want to have to worry about other cannabinoids like THC getting all up in there, because yeah, exactly. Yeah. You don't want anybody getting a hold of that. So it also comes without just prohibiting the sale of really full spectrum, multi-spectrum, broad spectrum, whatever your heart desires, products, which are very beneficial to your health and may not cause any psychoactive properties in your person. There are huge fees associated with staying in business as a retailer, including $500 per SKU for a hemp product.
So I
Okay.
have to pay to register my hemp product, and the price to register is $500.
500 per SKU for every product that you want to sell. There's these crushing penalties for retailers that are out of compliance. And as much as I would love to say, because I'm, laboratory compliance kind of gal,
You are
um,
kind of girl.
you know, I like the black and white. I don't like the gray area. This is something that's like almost unfathomable. They would be facing possible jail time. There's misdemeanor charges. So it's not just like, here's a fine, here's a debilitating fine and possible jail time, for these retailers, and the obscene amounts of fees to pay for your SKUs, and $20,000 for your retail establishment license. And then there's the registration. Who would want to do business in
Right.
Texas
Okay.
if this passes?
You
So
don't.
we do have the opportunity for the governor to veto again and call another special session, which apparently you can call as many as you want in Texas. And so this could go on forever.
Well,
You know what
fascinating.
I mean,
Texas
we need
doesn't.
Democrats to come back. I know they're upset about redistricting, but like, we aren't Texas, so they need Democrats to come back and contribute to this talk.
Well, and that's the thing. Are the Republicans going to allow Democrats to even soften this bill when you have such partisan walls? I mean,
It's
our Democrats
awfully
in
convenient
Florida,
timing.
well, and should the federal government reschedule, which I think, is definitely the talk of the town, is
I don't
federal.
know if I can talk about this because
You had a
I got a
quote?
case of the dumb reading a Trump quote earlier.
No, you got to read it though. And where did you find the quote?
I
Let's.
don't remember. No, I listened to his press conference.
Okay, so you heard this out of the president's mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, you want
Fortunately, yeah. And I can't unhear it. So
to?
President Trump obviously has already stated that, talking, and this was something last week when we spoke about this. I was reading articles, doing my research and due diligence, pulling things from different areas and cross-referencing to make sure what I was saying was accurate. I should have just listened to the press conference. I would have got so much more material. I would have been so much more funny last week, but instead I was just pulling the key parts.
Get
So
news
to
and real
yeah,
information.
the meat
God
and
bless you.
potatoes. But today
People
I was
count.
like, I'm bored. I'll go listen to the press conference where he talks about marijuana that everyone's referencing. And boy, do I regret that decision. So he says,
Get those
and I
brain.
know this is significant to our listeners because it was significant to me physically and emotionally. He said, quote, some people hate the whole concept of marijuana because if it does bad for the children, it does bad for the people older than children.
Huh,
What? What? So
huh.
I'm sorry, but it sounds like someone who had a traumatic brain injury is trying to describe something to me. And I am the one that's the child at this point because he said that the reason that they are going to, this is a difficult topic, rescheduling and cannabis and marijuana, is because some people hate the concept of marijuana.
Just hate
And
the
if,
concept. Well,
if
yeah.
marijuana does bad for the children, it does bad for the people older than children, which I would assume would be adults
To be you.
or
Yeah.
older children, young
Older than
adults.
children. We're all somebody's child. So are we ever older than
It does
children?
bad. Who taught him the English? Because if it does bad for the children, it does bad for the people that are older than children. Okay. I think I had a stroke in the middle of it because it made sense after reading it 6, 7, and listening to 8, 9 times. And I was like, yeah, does bad for the kids and the older kids too, does bad for them.
People older than kids. The people
I'm
older.
dumber than I was yesterday.
Well, you're still above average.
Thank you.
Well, above average. You can be dumber than yesterday. I always figured if it was killing some brain cells, it would make me be able to tolerate everybody else. No, that's me being a little snotty.
I just
Uh,
feel like he needs some sort
well,
of like someone make a notepad for the guy. Like just say like when asked about cannabis, say, yeah, some people believe this is a controversial subject and we got to protect the kids and also their parents. What give him some speaking or talking points. The poor guy's out there just like grasping at straws and trying to come up with big words that mean big things, but older people that are older than children. I'm older than the children and I'm not concerned. So just go ahead and talk about rescheduling.
well, and we should talk about the impact that Drug-Free America and its
Ugh.
subsidies, Save Our Society from Drugs, Project SAM, Smart Approach to Marijuana. These folks, they are really well funded. Oftentimes, they're well funded through, government programs. We saw what happened with Hope Florida in in Florida, right? The
It's
Hope
still
program.
happening. We just need to see what comes to
But
fruition from it because it can't go
remember,
unanswered.
they took $10 million in our money, because taxpayer dollars, and they gave it to Drug Free America. They gave it to Drug Free America. Now, Drug
Yeah.
Free America gave 8.5 million of that to to the campaign, but they're spending the other 1.5 million convincing soccer moms that this is bad for the children. And they've been doing that, taking you and I's tax dollars and convincing soccer moms that drugs were bad for the last 30 years. We struggle. We need I believe there's a $10,000 angel donor out there for us. I believe that. I believe
Always.
that there is somebody who's like, I would get a real blessing helping Cannabis Action Network. These guys are doing great things.
Just
They're
want to
very,
count 10
they want,
grand.
they want to give it. And then the people with Drug Free America go, oh, well, I can milk 1.5 million out of the taxpayers. Holy crap. And so I think the monumental things that Florida Cannabis Action Network and our advocate neighbors like Normal, and I was working with the Grateful Veterans this week. Grateful Veterans last month qualified 100 veterans, got 100 veterans complimentary
Impressive.
cards from the state. Right. Takes a huge amount of effort and organization at $75 a card plus, infrastructure and organization, you're talking about 10 grand that Grateful Veterans spent last month to give
Hmm.
complimentary cards to people who should be flipping free medical care.
Right. I'm pretty sure that we had a bill up that said veterans would get their cards for free, but it couldn't make it through our own House and Senate to
Made it through
pass.
the House, talked to the Senate.
talk to the Senate. Well, okay, I'm talking to you, Senate, but I'm saying like that group did not have to spend their 10 grand, but they had to because
Right.
Tallahassee could not get their shit together.
Right.
Senate, the Senate, the House, cool for now. Senate, not so great on our shit list. But that would have been a non-issue, would have been a non-event for them to even host, but it was necessary because they're still taking care of the veterans because now they have to flip
No.
that bill to still take care. So that's ridiculous. It's embarrassing a little bit.
Same $10,000. Same $10,000. And if the legislature had done their job last year, and last year wasn't the first year that we talked about free
No,
veterans cards. It was actually a Republican issue introduced 4 years ago.
right,
But we are going to be working with groups like the Grateful Veterans to move that bill forward again this year. We believe we're going to get some traction, and I think this is the year we get it to the finish line. I had a great call with one of our Democratic senators this
oh
week.
yes.
Yeah, several of our members. We're going to have an amazing home grow bill in. And so when we were talking to the senator, he said, well, there are message bills, where you introduce a bill, but you're really just trying to send a message. You don't think it'll ever get heard. And then there are bills that you craft with the opposition in mind and
Mhm.
with compromise. And Florida Cannabis Action Network, special thanks to Normal, uh, Suncoast Normal folks got involved, Tallahassee Normal folks got involved, uh, National Normal was listening, Florida Normal was listening. We had several of our members involved as well. And well, there's no way to ever craft the perfect home grow bill.
Right,
We came to a great start. We are going to put it in law under the right to grow. So right now, Floridians already have a right to grow. Governor DeSantis signed it into law in 2018. And it says that as a homeowner, so it's not going to be for apartments. And if your homeowners association says no, there's only so much we can do about that.
right.
But it will put it there in that section that says that you have a right to go tomatoes, or fruits, vegetables, and herbs. And we're
Hmm.
going to put a little clause in there that says medical marijuana card holders may cultivate cannabis under these circumstances. We did feel like we had to put in some sort of plant limit. So 6 flowering plants.
Hmm.
So you want to make sure that you stay under your 6 flowering plants. There has to be some sort of an enforcement mechanism. So if you have more than 6 plants, or if you're diverting it, if you're letting it get into the hands of children, if you're selling it, that's still a criminal violation for
Yeah,
893. It's still crime. But if when this bill moves through the process, Floridians who are qualified medical patients will have the right to cultivate their own medicine, just like they can cultivate their own food, their own vegetables, their own herbs.
right.
So,
I grow
like that.
basil and that's it because everything else dies. So just because you can grow cannabis when this passes, because I'm super, super positive that and
So
optimistic,
it will.
glass, my coffee mug is half full and runneth over. Jody's coffee mug, my Stanley is. But it doesn't mean you're going to be good at it. You might still need to use the program. Just because you can doesn't mean you should, or you will, or you'll be
Right.
successful at it. But
One of
the
the
right
things
to do it should
you,
always be there because 100% like I there were parts of the language that I was like, well, as far as like sourcing and materials and stuff, like I have a little personal thing about this or that. But in the grand scheme, in the overarching, it's not just about Cynthia. This is reasonable. This is a reasonable piece of language for qualified and good standing medical patients to cultivate on their private property. This means if you rent, you're not going to participate. You can't do it. There's nothing,
unless
we
your
can't help
landlord
you.
says, if your landlord says you can,
Yeah. If
would
the
prevent
property owner says that you can and it's private property, that's one thing. But just
it.
know that if you live in an apartment and this happens, that just because it happens does not mean for you. So don't get all upset when you're like, oh, well, you didn't carve out apartment renters. Well, no, I'm sorry. We can't we can't have everything for everyone. We can't include like, yeah, tiny homeowners and people with airstreams on other people's properties. Like, I don't know. but this was reasonable. I think it was well rounded. It was comprehensive without getting too nuts and bolts. We protected the children and the older children,
Right.
adults. Okay. And also we
People older than
discretion,
children. People older than
discretion.
children.
But we don't have to over wordsmith it for it to be very, very solid, well rounded, and successful. And I think it will be.
Well, the senator, again, beloved Democratic senator, and we'll
Only the
kind of,
coolest senator in the world ever. I know
uh,
he's listening.
we'll drop names next week. But he said,
Mhm.
you know what, if we can find a Republican to run this, he would step away from it, because he would rather see it pass, and he thinks this is the kind of legislation that will pass. But he is putting our language in his legalization bill so that if his legalization bill passes, everybody can grow. And I think that that's where we're standing. One of the things that I have made me very sad, and I've been standing here for 30 years watching this and marching forward, is the idea that it had to happen incrementally. That just breaks my heart. There are so many people who've suffered since, the prohibition of cannabis. There are so many, the planet has suffered. We didn't have to use oil-based plastics ever. We could have made plastisols out of hemp resin. So, we could have done that. We could have been growing hemp and using it for fiber instead of clear cutting trees, but we didn't do that. Um,
Mm-mm.
and and so every little step that we've taken breaks my heart because I see the end. But I
Mm-hmm.
know that we don't, a journey of 1,000 miles and blah, 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 blah. And we have a lot of enemies. Drug-Free America, $1.5 million
That's what I'm
just
saying.
in Florida.
We
And
started.
Massachusetts, right? Massachusetts.
Massachusetts is a hot mess because they're talking about being the very first state to actually repeal an adult use program, which in my mind is like, don't do that. Don't let that happen. Don't be dumb. We've come so far. And now we're talking about people saying, I want to invoke takesies, backsies. And that's not acceptable. I'm sorry. It's not acceptable in my mind. We took a lot to get where we are as a nation. Individually, as a state, you have your ability to go at your own pace.
Right.
Nebraska, Iowa, you need more time in those places. Some of the square states, whatever. Take your time. That's your right as a state to do so. But when you, Massachusetts, who was one of like the first to go rec,
One of the
okay,
first
you're
states.
setting a precedent. You're setting the tone for us to follow. You can't go and try and invoke takesies, backsies. Now, mind you, this is not a legislative thing. This is a citizen ran ballot measure by two different groups. Now, I got to
So,
do some digging to find out who's behind these two individuals
and
because,
I think it's going to be Drug-Free America. I'm telling you right now, but we'll find out for sure.
yeah,
I do want to point out that there is a difference, and we'll have to look, and we'll let uh, folks know next week. There is a difference between a constitutional amendment,
yeah.
and in some states you can do a citizens constitutional amendment, which is what Florida used to have. Now we have a big corporation, lots of money initiative process, and then some states have a ballot process that changes laws.
Yeah.
So Constitution up here, body of laws here. In California, you
Oh, yeah.
can
They've got
do a
lots.
ballot initiative that puts something into law. And so
Yeah.
it doesn't quite raise to the constitutional level. So I think that what they are doing,
Florida's constitution only,
we
all
are
or nothing. Good luck trying to get it done. But I think this
60%,
one, it's like a 73,000 signature requirement to make it on the ballot for
and it
2026.
changes the statute.
Right, but they would have this is repealing something. This is taking away adult use, which is a $1.6 billion
Wow.
in revenue away from the state of Massachusetts because two of these groups, one which they believe there should be potency caps, 30% for flower, 60% for derivatives, which is like impossible. And then the other one doesn't really say, but because there's that vague differentiation between the two, but they're wanting to both make it onto the ballot, like Jodi says and anticipates and proclamates that this is probably a bigger group trying to push it if they are successful, which is kind of unlikely it'll make it. they have a September 3rd deadline to get the signatures. And it seems like a small amount of signatures to me, but it is, like Jodi said, 10% of the population, or
1%.
1%. Sorry,
1
1%.
1%. I did, but I had to do the math. It's
Good
1%.
luck trying to get 1% to say they don't like adult use cannabis. I'm pretty sure that that's going to be a hurdle.
Time. When we first started doing this, we always figured there was about 7% that really didn't like cannabis. They just really, they're all 7 out of 100 people. They had someone who was injured because of drugs. They, are towing the party line. They had a bad experience themselves. But that's a really, really slim majority.
Good
So
luck getting your petition gatherer signature
I
people to go
know.
and spot those MFers in a parking lot of a Publix to sign your thingy by September 3rd. So that's why I'm not concerned, but just the fact that they're attempting makes me very offended.
Well, and that's the reason that groups like Florida Cannabis Action Network need to continue because we're not done. We're talking a 1 point what billion dollar industry.
1.6 billion with a B.
So we're going to be at the Cannabis C Lab, Cannabis Lawyers, Accountants and Business.
Counting.
They're
Yep.
having their annual conference October 3rd and 4th
South
here in
Florida.
Florida. Yep, at Hollywood. Are you going to attend? Are you
I just
going?
heard about it from JMac, or I call her JMac, the cannabis banking queen
New president
connoisseur.
and business
Yes.
owner and your co-host 2 weeks
Yes.
ago.
She told me about it earlier this week.
Yeah. So Florida Cannabis Action Network has a booth. I just reserved a big room for us a bunch of us to share. People wonder why we can afford the suite. Well, because if you put enough people in a suite and divide it appropriately, everybody's paying $25 a night.
Yeah.
So we'll be picking up our sleeping stuff so that we can have meetings in the room. But Florida Can will be there. We'll have a booth, so you can always come out to C Lab. But you know,
It's a
I
diplomat. Yeah.
yeah, Hollywood Diplomat. It's a beautiful hotel. And there is room for you in our, if
I
you
I
want,
would like the executive suite at the diplomat.
you want to play.
I will
Well,
expense it if I need to.
we have a family room. So, you're the executive, we're the family, Florida Cannabis Action Network family. But, I bring it up because really, Cannabis Action Network is where policy intersects.
Hmm.
And so, this policy is what's going to affect your business. If this group is allowed to continue their rhetoric, which is going to be, how dangerous it is. Some people don't like it, right? Some people hate it.
Some people,
It's
I can't go
bad.
back. I can't. It's over here. The quote. I can't, Jodi, because I need to maintain some sort of resemblance of, you know, like I can't even think of words. That's the problem. I'm already affected by this Trump
Or,
quote, and I want to keep listening to it because it makes me laugh a little bit because he's like looking at other people do endorsements. But you know what I'm talking about. And I think that I totally forgot what we were just talking about. Seriously, it's bad. This case I've got of the dump. Oh, what I wanted, I've remembered. Okay, so one thing I wanted to acknowledge and I did want to recognize because Jodi James will be incredibly great advocate for Florida Cannabis Action Network, but she is not going to talk about all the things that she has done. And she has been instrumental in over a dozen. Seriously, Jodi, let's be honest. Well, it's just going to blow your horn. If I have to mute you, I will. But over a dozen patient focused cannabis reform activities when no one else is really looking, or it's not about the PR, it's not about the visibility of her and this group specifically in the news. This is seriously about patients. And it goes from, Kathy Jordan being allowed to grow for her personal use, which was huge, huge.
Huge.
Okay.
Better on guard.
Y'all, I mean, Florida Cannabis Action Network was right there. There's parental rights that you guys have worked on. You might not get a news story for every single thing that you have done, but there's been over a dozen things you have done to help, and this amazing guns and weed, and I got to come up with a really good wordsmith like alliteration, but this is a big deal. Congratulations.
It is
You
big deal.
deserve it. everybody who's worked on the team to get this accomplished. The three plaintiffs in the cases that put their name to paper, that's huge. Thank you for doing that. No matter what happens, we are blessed that you would be willing to put your name to paper because most people aren't. And I can't wait.
Honored that they're Florida Can members, right?
And their members.
They are members.
I mean, we couldn't be this lucky, but we are. So just know that like out of everybody that talks the game, there's a few that can actually walk the walk and put boots to pavement. And Cynthia can't talk because of Trump quotes. And I'm just so proud that I can be affiliated with y'all because you're actually doing the things that you say you're going to do. And
We are
it
doing it.
affects all of us positively. And
That's
I
right.
can't wait to smoke a joint and shoot guns in the air.
There you go. So
Oops.
a couple plugs, shameless plugs for Florida Cannabis
Go
Action Network.
ahead. Do it.
Remind people that tomorrow night, come rain or shine, we're going to be out at Mosquito Lagoon doing celebrating our wellness with the Flowery and a nighttime bioluminescent kayaking trip. That's in North Brevard. If you are local to the area, Cynthia and I will be at the Florida Can office at the corner of Galley Boulevard and US 1. Next Friday, we're going to be in the same room doing the program together. I know, isn't that exciting? You can come by, you can make a donation for a fabulous mocktail. So a
Yeah, you
little,
can buy a donation, make a donation, bring us 10,000.
there you go. Checks are welcome.
We'll
Small
sign
bill.
autograph.
One of our friends, one of the friends of Florida Cannabis Action Network, found $1,000 blowing across the ground this week.
They don't make $1,000 bills.
No, but it was like a wad of money that was just blowing across the. Can you believe it?
Where were they?
Gainesville. It must
No
have been
way.
left behind. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
first off, I lived in Gainesville.
Nobody
There is
has $1,000.
there's nobody that got that kind of money
It
on
was
the up
drug
and up.
money. You know it was drug money.
That's what I said on the up and up because that kind of weight. And then
Yeah.
also there's a lot of homeless people up in Gainesville. I felt like they would have like probably tackled a vehicle just to get that
Uh-huh.
rolling tumbleweed of cash.
So he posted on him like, you know
Are they
what?
donating to us?
Uh,
Congratulations, by the way.
yeah, we will. Yeah, congratulations to him, and we'll certainly ask. We're not afraid to ask. That's what I gotta say.
Never.
But I want to end before we go. I want to do a shout out to South Park.
Oh my
Uh,
God, yeah.
I have been uh I I keep South Park. It makes me blush. It's a little vulgar.
Really?
The first
So
three
vulgar?
episodes, yeah, the first three episodes of this season, there's a lot of Trump's penis, and so I'm like, "Ugh, that's okay. Little
Adorable.
little Christy Gnome, shooting dogs, so that's a little tough. Some ice stuff. But this week it all kind of came together.
Okay.
Integrity Farms was raided. So, we
Oh,
talked
Integrity
about
Farm from the show.
Integrity Farm is South Park's cannabis farm. 'Cause of course, South Park is Colorado. Integrity Farms came around in the very, very, very early days of the cannabis movement. It was kind of a joke where, people were, before the industry, there were a lot of people with integrity
Mm.
that became criminals because someone they loved needed access to cannabis. And they may have been never considered themselves anything other than law abiding, and suddenly they found themselves a bootlegger, right?
Mhm.
Um, so Integrity Farms was kind of the joke on that. They became the first big business cannabis on TV, right? And maybe didn't have all the integrity that they needed. But spoiler, Integrity
Mm.
Farms is no more. So,
Why?
well, the industry's tough. They lost all their help. They lost all their Mexicans. I told you they got raided,
Because of an
right?
ice raid. Now, mind you,
A nice raid.
Jodi has to explain this to me twice because I thought it was a real place that was being made fun of, or it was a premonition like Simpsons guessing Trump be the president. I thought South Park guessed that this real company, Integrity Farms, was going to go out of business after they lost all their Mexicans to an ice raid. That's when I stopped and said, maybe this is not real. This
So
is
maybe
on television.
so hard to know whether, they were doing a little glass house,
A hundred
you know,
percent they are.
I don't know how long the production run is on them, but the plight of cannabis companies. It's hard to be a cannabis company. You won't be a cannabis company in Texas. It
Well,
costs too
actually,
much.
their cannabis program is moving forward nicely. Like
The
it
medical
actually
cannabis.
has, yeah. The hemp side, hot mess. But isn't that the same for every state right now?
Well,
Trying to iron out the mistakes of the farm bill.
and well, I think that's the next show, Cynthia. Do we
Oh
need
my
did
gosh,
we make mistakes?
the heads butting of the Mitch McConnell and the Rand Paul, and they're from the same state. Like the just discord at home. Like we could talk about next episode, but yes,
War.
they're ruining the hemp space because they can't get along.
Well, and we've always had kind of a civil war. I mean, growing up as someone who used cannabis, I was ostracized by my family.
Being a
So
pothead?
that was a real thing. So the idea of a civil war between the states over cannabis and in our homes, it's very unfortunate that people don't see the side of cannabis that I do, but I certainly welcome people who love the plant as much as we do to get involved with Florida Cannabis Action Network. It's easy, flcan.org, and you'll be part of the people who help us reap the harvest of all the good seeds that we have planted. And nothing happened in a vacuum, and I certainly didn't start the organization. And I really hope I'm not the person who ends it because there's a lot of work to be done. So we're
Yeah,
looking for
me neither.
right.
So
We're looking for you and lots of people to step up and be ready to take the reins. We'll help.
we want you to join Florida Cannabis Action Network. Well, thank you again. We will see you next week for episode round 11. Cynthia Brewer for Elevated Intel and my amazing co-host OG Jodi James making shit happen. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you very much. It's good to have you part of Florida Cannabis Action Network. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I'm all up in it, whether you
See
like
you
it or
next.
not.
Support FL Cannon's mission to educate, empower, track lawmakers, and create a fun space for volunteers.